Welcome, everybody, to the Bare Knuckle Podcast, the only place to be on Sunday at noon. Grab your protein shake, grab your energy drink, sit down, relax, and enjoy the next hour or so. I am joined, as always, by my friend Dave Cook of the What's Cooking review series. I am Sean, your host and driver. Robic may be joining us. He's international today, so we're hoping he'll join shortly. But the guest of honor, a close personal friend of mine, multiple times on the Subtalk platform. He is a father. He is a somewhat recent dad to a beautiful boy. And he is the National Director of Sales of Applied Nutrition. As always, Spencer, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean. I think this is my third time on your platform of Subtalk Radio, so it's definitely cool. And anytime we can make it happen, I'm all for it. And Dave, nice to actually meet you in person too. We've interacted, not really in person, but nice to actually meet you face to face in a way.
We've interacted you as well, Spencer.
We've interacted plenty online before, and it's cool to finally meet you.
Yeah, Spencer, you truly are one of the great guys in the industry here, and I'm glad you're able to hop on here with us today. I mean, I think anybody that's not familiar with you, I think after today, they're going to love you too. So good to have you here with us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do.
Spencer, I'm going to be honest here. Right before we got on, I looked at your LinkedIn profile to make sure I gave you the proper title, because I know previously I mislabeled your title on, I don't know if it's a podcast or something I was doing here. So, but anyway.
Well, yeah, I had to give you a hard time about it before, because especially in your day job, you're in recruiting, you're in that line of work. So I figure somebody like you would get somebody's title right, because that's part of what you do professionally, and then you end up messing it up. So now I'm just giving you a hard time. It's not that big of a deal.
So Spencer, you just jumped on board with Applied Nutrition, the big elephant in the room here. How's it going? What's it like?
It is awesome. It is, the hot seat, everything. We're on the go all the time. There's a ton going on right now. So not only do we have Applied Nutrition, that line that we are tweaking for the US market and getting ready for a launch over here later this year, we also have the ABE line, all black everything, that is active in the United States already. So we're kind of really, wearing two hats at one time with those lines, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but it's fun too. And it'll really pay off later this year when the larger Applied Nutrition line rolls out here.
What was the genesis to finally get AN over to the States?
I think the UK team, the leadership team over in the UK, I think, they've seen the opportunity for a while. They've been aware of the opportunity in the United States for a while. That's kind of what ABE was like an initial dip of the toe in the water to test the US market. And ABE held up very well. I think that was kind of the proof of concept that they needed to, open it up and bring the larger line over. They needed somebody who would be able to spearhead that initiative, and that's obviously where Aaron came in. And the team that Aaron has assembled around him. I think it was just kind of a genesis of really good timing. And, here we are, and we're rocking already. A lot of stuff I can't talk about yet, but sure. Later this year, Q4 this year, you'll all know.
Now, you the sole salesperson for the whole US?
No, so Darren Decker is the VP of sales, and that's basically retail sales. And then we have Matt Hoffman is he's our VP of growth, basically. So he's our D2C and Amazon sales guy. So we have our sales channels split up in different ways. I report directly to Darren. And I'm basically his right-hand man with, any of the accounts that we're already in with ABE and the accounts we will be getting into with Applied Nutrition.
Awesome. And of course, a quick shout out to our friend Nick, who's now part of the team as well.
Yeah, Nick is here as the director of marketing. And we do have another, Mike Fabiano, who's our VP of distribution. And he does exactly what that sounds like. He handles the distributors, your Muscle Foods, your Europa, your Sport Life, and sells through them. So we do have it split up. We do have the sales force split up, kind of based on channel, which really helps us stay organized, stay focused in our lane. And then, we all collaborate together and work together and support each other however needed to.
Dave, please, I'm manipulating here.
Yeah, Spencer, I know that, for anybody that's not familiar, you were just previously with Cage. That was the brand that you were with before. So in your new role here, did you pretty much slide over from an apples to apples type of situation that you're in with your everyday, day-to-day tasks?
No, not quite. It's a much bigger role here with Applied Nutrition as the, national director of sales. I'll touch more accounts. I'm already responsible for way more lines of business. And then especially as the Applied Nutrition line gets here later this year, that'll really be kind of where my job becomes even more important and more critical. So not only at that point will it be sales as in selling into retailers, it'll also be sales as in selling through retailers, also known kind of as consumption. You could easily call my role the director of consumption as well. So that way I'm the one that needs to make sure that the retailers that we're in are selling our product off their shelves, whether, that be partnering with store managers or district managers, regional directors of the retailers and educating them on our products, supporting them with, in-person events, with samples, with swag, kind of building it up from the from a grassroots ground up perspective. So yeah, director of sales, director of consumption, really same thing. That's kind of my role here.
Gotcha. And the one thing I always say, Spencer, is for respectively, the short amount of time that you have been in the industry, you've progressed so quickly.
Hey, Robert.
Look at this guy.
Sorry for late entry.
That's okay. How are you, brother?
Good. Just landed today, so kind of things are a little crazy, but settling in, everything is good. It's where are we now? It's 11:07 p.m. on Sunday.
You're officially in Thailand.
Oh yeah, in Thailand.
This is your first time ever in Thailand?
7th or 8th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, cool. It's like home away from home. So I haven't been here for 6 years though, so kind of settling in and everything. But it's pretty cool. How you guys doing? How's everyone?
Good.
Doing great.
Good, man. We were just talking about Spencer just joined Applied Nutrition, so talking about the genesis of coming over here and everything else.
Okay, how do you like it?
I like it a lot. I think Sean's last question was kind of like, I haven't been in the industry for that long, maybe about 5 years now, but really kind of worked my way up quickly. And I really think a lot of that is due to where I got started in the industry, and that's a cool story in and of itself. But my first job in this industry was with Compound Solutions. I actually started there technically as an unpaid intern for 3 months. And that's due to, I love telling the story. I know some of you might have heard it before, but that's due to somebody we all know, Matt Nickerson. So Matt Nickerson, at the time it was Vaso 6, but now it's known as Cellflow 6. He's a patent holder for that ingredient. But Vaso 6 was held by Compound Solutions at that time. They were the commercialization partner selling Vaso 6. Matt Nickerson owned the IP for it. But he was at their headquarters and they kind of gave him control of their Instagram for a day. And he was doing like an Ask Me Anything on Instagram. And I had always been aware of Compound Solutions from, T Crean, Pico 2, just my own use of supplements and paying attention to what's in products and what's on the label and everything. So I knew who Compound Solutions was. I'd followed them on Instagram when I knew them as a very buttoned up, professional ingredient supplier company. So when I see this big, tattooed, bearded, loud talking, funny guy taking over their Instagram stores, I'm like, who the heck is this guy? I didn't know who he was, but he's doing an Ask Me Anything. So I just shot a question. I said, how does somebody get their foot in the door in the supplement industry? And I said, he'll never respond, whatever, not a big deal. Sure enough, a couple minutes later, he responds with a video, a story, and says, like, shoot me a DM or something. Okay, so I went on his personal Instagram, I shot him a DM, and I just explained my situation. At the time, I was in my last couple months of service in the military, and the Army had a program called the Career Skills Program, where you can apply for a civilian internship for your last 3 months in service to help you bridge that gap of transitioning from the military back into the civilian world. So I applied to that Career Skills Program, got accepted. So now I had the ability to do a civilian internship. So I explained that scenario to Matt via DM. And again, I thought, he's never going to get back to me. Sure enough, he gets back to me an hour or so later and says, this is interesting. I'm interested in this. Shoot an email to Kelsey, who is the director of marketing at Compound Solutions, and she's still there. So I explained that situation to her. She liked the idea. She took it to their president, Kim Sickinger. She liked it too. They kind of created an internship opportunity for me. I interned with them for 3 months and, did well enough that turned into a job offer in sales upon completion of my internship, literally right when I got out of the military. So I walked out of the military and then right into that job with Compound Solutions. And that's kind of how I got started in this industry. And again, it is all literally just from taking a shot on an Instagram DM to Matt Nickerson. So I feel like to this day, I'm still very thankful to Matt and just, responding to me and pointing me in the right direction. And that's where I got started.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Robert knows Matt very well. And I've known Matt for years. I actually had the opportunity to meet him finally at the Arnold. And it was just good. It's always nice to meet people, guests and whatnot, friends on all social media platforms, in live and living person. And also his, I guess his partner, Mike Sperduti as well.
Yep.
Super nice guy.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my introduction to you too, Spencer, when you were with Compound Solutions. You were nice enough. I think you sent me a bag of Vaso 6, and that tasted terrible. But man, I was so grateful for the opportunity just to try out that ingredient. That was great.
Yeah, just again to pay it forward. Like I said, I got my start in the industry literally just by shooting a DM to somebody on Instagram. So anytime anybody reaches out to me on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, I make it a point to get back to people as quick as I can and help them if I can, or at least point them in the right direction if I can't help them directly.
Yep. Spencer, I actually had people questioning already, because for those that don't know, you're an athlete. You're a tried and true hard athlete.
I'm a washed up athlete now. I used to be an athlete back in the day. I'm washed up now, but I'm still doing my best.
Dude, you're a college, very, very well respected college football player. And then obviously you transitioned, you did your ultra marathon or whatever it's called, 100-mile run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last year, for those that don't know, you tried to set a Guinness Book of World Record for the most weight lifted, 1 million pounds in 24 hours.
So I tried and failed to break the official Guinness World Record for most amount of weight deadlifted in 24 hours. It is 1.2 million pounds. I made it about 184,000 pounds in 14 hours before I had to tap out. My lower back just completely locked up, and I couldn't even bend down without weight anymore. But so I made it a little over 2/3 of the way to the record, but I did not break it. I failed that one.
But the question is there something that's on your agenda this year that's going to kind of top that, supersede it, or what's on the athletic agenda for you?
I think being a dad, trying to be a good dad is the biggest thing on my agenda right now. I might do another 100-mile ultra marathon this year. I don't know, just with a lot of travel with the new job. It's hard to line dates up far enough ahead of time. Because obviously 100-miler, like you can't just show up and do it. You need to be training for it very hard for a long period of time ahead of that. So I might do a 100-miler this year, but I really got to get the dates lined up between my travel, maybe anticipated travel, and then when the actual 100-miler is. There's one I'm looking at in Ohio that's July 27th and 28th that I think I might be able to do, but I just got to make sure no travel pops up around that time.
And obviously you're smart not doing it in the dead of winter like the first one.
Yeah, well, again, that wasn't even in the dead of winter. So the one I did, it was last March. It was March 17th, which it was in Western Pennsylvania, here near Pittsburgh. And anybody that knows Pittsburgh weather in March can be anywhere from 70 and sunny to 15 and snowing. And unfortunately, that night it dropped down to 17 degrees and snowed overnight. So running all night through the snow was nuts. And yeah, it froze, and my shoelaces froze solid, my water bottles froze solid. It was definitely tough.
Dave, go ahead. Any questions?
Oh no, I was just going to say, I knew you're from that area of the country. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, initially.
Yeah,
so yeah,
same.
right there with you. That weather is just unpredictable.
Dave, the one I'm looking at, the 100-miler I'm looking at this summer is in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It's the Burning River 100. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
it's around that Cleveland area.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So Spencer, what's it like? Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I was going to say, well, like you said, though, I know fatherhood is, that is a demanding task in and of itself. And I think all of us can speak for that. So, best of luck at trying to juggle all that. I totally get you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what's it like being a father, Spencer? Obviously, Robert's got an 18-year-old daughter. Dave's got 3 boys, God bless them. And I've got late teenagers. But what's it like? You're in the beginning of this.
Yeah, it's definitely so somebody who's done a lot of hard stuff in his life, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. For sure. Trying to, balance being a dad, working, staying in shape, taking care of my wife, taking care of our house, taking care of our dog. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot of hard stuff, but also obviously know how rewarding it's going to be. I mean, right now, so my son is 7 months old right now. So he's finally starting to like interact and respond to things, and kind of, his personality's coming out a little bit. The previous 6 months was literally just crying, eating, pooping, and sleeping. And it wasn't very rewarding. It wasn't very fun. But now that he is starting to, like I said, interact a little bit more, it's definitely rewarding, and it's definitely going to pay off.
Robert, do you miss any of it? Do you remember any of it? Well, both our daughters are going to be 20. Do you remember or miss any of that?
You know what? I actually, surprisingly, I was just thinking about it. I do. I do. I mean, I wanted to give her up for adoption when she was born. I hated her so much, but I think that we go through a period of time where we miss things, you know. So I think we have to enjoy the moment that we have right now. You know, the fact that me and her are texting while I'm in Thailand and, you know, on a different level now. I think that we always nostalgic about what happened, you know, early in life, and we miss it, but we have to enjoy it for what it is. But Spencer, what I wanted to say is, number one, it's a cool story. Number two, I can totally see why you are where you are, because I've never talked to you. You know, we only interacted on social media a couple of times, and that's it. But you have a winning personality, that's for sure. Very charming, very, very down to earth, and very easy to talk to and to listen to. So I'm not surprised by your achievements and where you are right now. I could definitely see, you know, people hiring you and wanting to work with you, because my perception when I saw your profile picture and stuff like that, this guy is a geek. You know, I mean, that's about it. But no, it's very, very cool, and you know, congratulations on all your achievements. It's pretty cool, and obviously being dad is number one without a doubt.
Yeah. Thank you. I definitely appreciate those kind words. But you said it at the end, being dad is number one, and that's something I have to remind myself of. You know, as all of us here on this podcast, I'm sure we get caught up in business or get caught up in trying to relive our glory days or whatever. And that stuff's important too. But also, like you just said, being dad is number one. I have to actively remind myself that you know, now as a father, I have a new responsibility that supersedes all of my previous responsibilities.
Oh, absolutely, because it's constant. It's going to be for the rest of your life with you, no
Yeah.
matter what. You know, your child's going to be, well, you're going to be there for your child. But you know, I mean, we saw what happened with Caged, for example. You know, you're no longer with Compound Solutions. You're no longer with Caged. You moved on to different things. I'm not saying necessarily that it's a bad thing or a good thing. You know, that's for you to decide. You know, I don't want to speculate about it because it's all gossip. He said, she said, and I don't think it matters. What does matter is the fact that, you know, you're happy and you're moving on in life, and you know there is progress. But being dad, it's constant. It's considered
Forever. Yeah.
something that you do. You know, I mean, take for me for example. I wasn't even sure 2 weeks ago that I'm going to be back in Thailand. Here I am. It's like being almost home, and I love it. You know, I can't wait for training to start tomorrow. I'm super excited about it. You know, and I see Dave doing his reviews almost on a daily basis. I think you're doing it actually on a daily basis, Dave. Now.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, you know, you look at his social media and you can tell that he's a dad. You know, he's a dad, and that's, you know, supplements that he reviews, they come and go. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but that's something. It's a passion, it's a hobby. But being a dad, that's constant. That stays with you forever, and that's the reason when they say it's the most important thing in life. It's true, but you know, not everybody's cut out to be a dad or a mom. You know, being a dad or being a mom, you know, people tend to argue about this one. Oh, you know what? She's a mom or he's a dad. You know, obviously they love their children. That's not true. That's bullshit. You know, that's, you know, we have good parents and bad parents, just like with everything in life. But if you're a good, responsible parent who, you know, truly loves his child, that's it. I mean, that's your full-time job for the rest of your life.
You know, that's a great point that you brought up, and it's funny. I guess the stuff that I've done in endurance with, you know, my 100-mile ultra marathon and an Ironman triathlon, people always like, oh, David Goggins, you must love David Goggins because you're just like David Goggins, and I don't like David Goggins. It's so funny because I don't. He's been divorced multiple times. He's not in his daughter's life. She's spoken out publicly that he's not a good dad. And people always think, people just assume that David Goggins must be my role model because of all the crazy hard stuff that I do. But in reality, he's not. He's not well-rounded. Doesn't appear to be a good father. Doesn't appear to be a good husband. Yeah, he's a beast when it comes to the physical things he does, and that part of it I admire. But also the bigger picture, he seems to be lacking in a little bit. So I almost take offense when somebody says, "Oh, David Goggins must be your role model." Not at all.
You know, it's the same thing the way I felt about Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, bodybuilders in general, they worship him. You know, he's a movie star. He's beloved by people all over the world. I've met him, I think, once, twice. I didn't like him. I'm not a fan. I don't like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think he's a great guy. But I always stress the fact that you cannot not admire what he's done with his career and what he accomplished, what he's done for bodybuilding. I mean, bodybuilding has done a lot for him too. But what he's done for bodybuilding, you know, his accomplishments, but does it automatically make him a good person? Does it automatically make him a good father or a good husband or a good friend? The answers are no. You know, you can achieve something in life, but at the same time, you 100% can be a piece of shit. That's the reason why comparisons, when people say, oh, you like this or you like that, you know, if you're going to compare me to somebody who's achieved something that I've achieved or on a way of achieving, that's great, I guess. You know, we always have to set the bar. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you. It's how far you can take it. And, you know, you have to be the best version of yourself. So being compared to somebody, we admire people in life, you know, in different fields, business, entertainment, parents. We admire somebody. But at the end, it's you being the best version of you. And as long as you can bring that in life, in no matter what you do, business, professional, personal, that's it. That's on you. But I totally agree with you. You know, comparisons to somebody else. Why? You know what? Maybe you're better.
Yeah.
I think
you need to, when it comes to having role models and people you look up to, I think I think it's best to kind of compartmentalize it, right? You might, you know, look up to Arnold Schwarzenegger and everything he accomplished in bodybuilding, or I might look up to David Goggins and everything he's accomplished in ultra running. But when it comes to being a father, I want to model myself after my own dad. When it comes to being a husband, I want to model myself after my grandpa. Like, those are my heroes in that role. Sure, David Goggins might be, you know, somebody to look up to for inspiration physically, but not necessarily on the emotional side of.
Shifting gears, but staying on track with this subject, sort of. You've been with what, 3 companies in supplement industry, 3 or 4?
Yeah. So Compound Solutions, Costs, Caged, and now Applied Nutrition. Yeah. I mean, Compound Solutions is an ingredient supplier, so that's a little bit different, but yeah.
What do you have any? Again, I said I'm not going to do it, but I'm doing it, I guess.
No, go ahead. Everything's it.
Do you have any, not necessarily role models, but companies, brands, or ingredient companies that you definitely admire and, you know, or prefer, and if you do, why?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would like to take a little bit away from several different companies, but one brand that I really like. I like their community. I like their ability to influence people is BPN. If you guys are familiar with BPN, Bare Performance Nutrition, Nick Bare, they have such a powerful community when it comes to things like running. And I know the term hybrid athlete is very popular right now. They're kind of on the forefront of the hybrid athlete, you know, people who like to run and lift heavy at the same time simultaneously. But they have a really strong community with their brand. I like that aspect of their brand a lot. Yeah, there's different things from different brands that I kind of really admire. I think everybody likes the creativity and collaborations that Ghost does. Those are things that I like. I would like to, you know, bring to Applied Nutrition with some of the just really crazy authentic collaborations that they pull off. Combine that with the community of a BPN, combine that with, you know, the product formulation of a place like Caged. Caged formulated great products. I think there's different things you can pick and choose from different brands to create like your own, you know, your own mega brand.
Okay.
So Robert, you hit India yesterday, first time, right?
Yeah.
What was that like? Give us a quick breakdown. I've seen some of your stories here. You had KFC in India, and I busted your chops. But anyway.
No, I mean, India, a couple of people asked me this. India has been my dream. I mean, when we're talking about dream destinations, India is my dream destination. You know, I mean, everybody knows my love for movies, you know, and Bollywood, actually, Indian cinematography has always been something very dear to my heart, because that is something that I grew up watching with my mom. Because in Soviet Union, we didn't have access to American movies or anything like that when I was growing up. So we had a lot of Indian movies, a lot of Bollywood films. So I kind of grew up watching them. And my mom visited India in, I think, 1987. And that was her dream. So ever since then, it's been my dream to visit the country, even considering that I've traveled so much. I've never been to India. There were a few trips that got canceled last minute. Right now, we were supposed to come to Thailand through Dubai, but Dubai has major floods. Our flight was supposed to leave on Thursday to Friday night, I believe. Yes, Thursday late at night. And it got canceled because of the floods. We couldn't make it. So we had to make arrangements and change flights and everything. And India popped. And it was to be in Delhi basically for 14 hours. And I said, well, I think this is fate. It's like, it's just meant to be. But I said, like, I can't be 14 hours at Delhi airport and not to set my foot on Indian soil. That's very, very, it's going to break my heart. So we had to apply for a visa, with the internet, and we got the e-visa literally while Marina and I were sitting at the airport at JFK. Before we boarded the plane to India, we got an email that we got visa. So once we landed in India, early in the morning, we were able to leave the airport and go and just explore Delhi for, a few hours. But in a few hours, Marina immediately got us a tour guide, and he took us all over, Delhi, and we kind of experienced the life for a couple of hours, and it was absolutely magical. It was better than what I expected. I always wanted to go to Mumbai, but Delhi is India, so it was pretty cool. So it was very, very interesting country, interesting culture, but the food kicked my ass. I love spicy food, but I just didn't anticipate. I think they probably put spices in ice cream too. I didn't have any ice cream, but there were spices everywhere. And I'm not the type of person to leave food on the table because no matter what you give me, 10 burgers, I'll finish 10 burgers. 2 or 3 pizza pies, they're going to be gone. So the KFC that I posted online, I did not finish. I was dripping sweat from my nose, from my ears, from everywhere. I was like, no, I can't. You know what? I'm going to give up. Everything was spicy. But that's the culture. So I saw at the airport, there was one guy that was in line to get something. I don't know if it was KFC or McDonald's because it was like a food court. And he approached the guy working there and he goes like, do you have anything non-spicy? The guy goes, no. We have less spicy, but it's still a little bit spicy. And he had a fit, and I was surprisingly, I didn't say nothing. Typically, I would say, just shut the fuck up. But I mean, I didn't say anything. I was thinking, you're visiting a country, why don't you be respectful? Like for example, in Thailand, right? You're gonna walk into a supermarket or a pharmacy. Where are you gonna be? You're gonna take your shoes or flip flops, whatever you have, off before entering inside. You don't have to. You don't have to. But it's a sign of respect. It's just cultural. That's how it is. So you have to go barefoot inside wherever you go. In martial arts, that's usually you don't go on a mat or in a cage or a ring wearing something. But over here, like I said, you're going to go to 7-Eleven. Just at the entrance of 7-Elevens, you're going to see a lot of shoes. And that's the culture. To some people, it might be like, what the fuck? Why do I walk barefoot inside the store? It's a sign of respect. So I think like every country that you visit, it's very important to understand. Like for example, in India, you're not going to find a Big Mac because Hindus don't eat beef. So it was either chicken or something vegetarian. I actually wanted to get a Big Mac. I was like, Marina, fuck, they don't have Big Mac. And I was like, oh, I forgot. Was I upset? Yeah, because I actually wanted to have a Big Mac. But you accept that it's a culture and you just respect them. So yeah, India is absolutely fascinating, just like Thailand. Those are the countries that are completely different from, especially the Western society. It's something that you explore. Like I'll be here for a week, so I'll try to post as many videos and pictures as I can. I haven't done it last few times that I've been here. I was doing something that I'd like to keep private, but over here it's an amazing experience. I definitely highly recommend, except the 20-hour flight. That's painful.
And you're there to train Muay Thai?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that I've missed doing for for many years. I kind of like stopped, and I would hit the bag here and there a little bit, and that's it. But this is something that's definitely been missing, and I think something that takes me away from my day-to-day life, and something very, very personal and dear to my heart. So I felt like, especially with Apollo Nutrition, the last couple of years. I mean, I'm still working like nonstop.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but it just takes me out of my day-to-day life and my element, and puts me where I'm a little bit more comfortable to be. So yeah, I'm gonna be training, spending time on the beach, eating a lot of amazing fruit, and just being in Thailand. It's a different life.
That's cool. Thailand, it's a pretty inexpensive country, right? Like your dollar stretches far in Thailand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, the flight usually, if you book it way in advance, like we couldn't book it in advance because Marina's schedule in a pharmacy is very, very tough. So we literally booked it 10 days or something like that before. So you'll pay for that. But other than that, the flight will cost you, I don't know, anywhere between $1,200 if you're lucky. It might be about $2,000 to $2,500. The flight's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Depends, but you have a lot of options, different airports, different airlines, different connecting flights. The hotels are very inexpensive. I mean, for $300, $300 a night, you're gonna live like a king. If you want something cheaper, like an apartment or something like that, that's gonna be far, far less. That's gonna be $50. You can probably find something cheaper. I rented a car. The car is about $25 a day. So it's and when it comes to food, I mean, a couple of bucks will get you very, very far. And the food is amazing. To me, Thai food is some of the best in the world.
Robert,
now,
are
do you
there
have
any?
Good.
I was gonna say, are there any nerves getting back into the training, or is this all like excitement, like you're a little kid again?
I'm very nervous. I'm
Are you?
petrified. I'm absolutely petrified. I think that it's mostly mental, because yeah, I do some boxing like twice a week or something like that, but nothing fancy. This is a different level, and the way they actually, my coach is American. He's been living in Thailand for I think like over 10, 15 years. He's been fighting here, living here, training people here. I've trained with Thais also, but the mentality of training here is completely different. You train outside, sometimes inside the room. But this particular camp where I am, they have inside also, just because they also do MMA. So a lot of fighters from UFC, from Bellator, come here to train. But in most cases, you train outside, and when it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees outside, it's brutal. It's brutal, and they push you. I mean, the training typically is not 45 minutes an hour like in the States. Training here is 2.5 hours twice a day.
Right, so
In Muay Thai, they call it, is it the art of 8 limbs, right? I know
Yes.
8 limbs,
Yeah.
yeah.
So here's a question for Spencer, and then I'll flip it over to Robic, because obviously there's a lot of mental fortitude. Because obviously, Spencer, what you do, your stress, everyone's stressors differently how to handle it. But obviously, like for an ultra marathon, you get your body in shape. But what do you do to get your mind in shape? And then I'll flip it over to Robic to answer that question. What do you do to get your mind in shape?
Yeah, for me, for running that 100-miler and all the other crazy endurance things I've done, it's again, training your mind is really no different than training your body. It's just progressive overload over time. Just go a little bit further, a little bit harder each time that you go out and train. And the nice thing about running, and I'm sure martial arts is similar, but the nice thing about running is when you do it long enough and you are able to find that flow state, that like being in the zone when you're running, you can just zone out, let your mind wander, and next thing you know, an hour is gone, or you've just gone 10 more miles and you really weren't even thinking about the miles. You were just kind of letting your mind wander and relax in that flow state. So for ultra endurance events like that, it's really important to be able to find that flow state. And again, the same way you train your body is how you train your mind to progressive overload.
So for you, Robic, is it just going to kind of hopefully wash away when you're in the ring, got your boots on, or your attire on, or like how are you doing mentally to do this?
one of my weaknesses is the mental preparation. It's always been the case. I mean, don't forget, I boxed when I was a teenager, but I didn't start Muay Thai until I was mid 30s, so say 36, I think, which is usually the time when people retire. That's when I actually started, and even the first fight, I think I was already maybe 38. So that's pretty late for this type of training. So you do overhear things like people saying you're too old, you washed up, you can't do it. And doesn't matter how much we say that it doesn't bother us, it does. It does. It definitely gets to you. I don't care how strong you are mentally, you will. I'm not saying you're gonna break, but it does affect you because you start to question your own abilities. You question if you're good enough, and that leads to um, problems with training. If you do enter the ring eventually, it will be on your mind because am I good enough? Can I do this? And that's the reason I know some people who are phenomenal in training, phenomenal. But when it comes to actual fighting, they freeze. And vice versa, I've seen people that suck at training, they really sloppy, but then when it comes to actually being in a ring, they're phenomenal. So it's how you control your mind. You really have to kind of be in a zone. For me, the most important thing would be, I think, people that I surround myself with. I mean, from following nutrition, the people that I'm surrounded with, that's actually what makes me go. Um, if I hear things, we can't do it, we unable to do it, should we do it? And inevitably, I question myself. But if I have a strong team around me, if I have people that are very, very die hard and, we can do this, we can pull it off, as much as everyone likes to say you can achieve anything in life, you can do anything, that is absolutely not true. That is not true. But what is true is that you can give it your best. And sometimes it's enough. Sometimes it's enough, and sometimes it's not. Not everybody can win brand of the year, just like not everybody can win a race. And not everybody, like Spencer, tried to break a record and he wasn't able to. Does it mean he sucks? No. He's just, maybe it was a bad day. Maybe he had a cold. Maybe his body gave out. Maybe he had a muscle tear. I mean, there are so many aspects that can go wrong, and something clearly went wrong. But what he should be admired for is the fact that he tried. Years from now, did he get into the Guinness World Record? No, he didn't. He might still, he might not. But one thing, the worst part in life is regret, and he's not going to regret for at least trying. There are a lot of people that daydream, and a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to do my own brand. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they don't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. It's just because they're not mentally strong or because they don't believe in themselves. Again, I don't ever tell people think, or at least I try not to. You can do this. You can achieve anything in life. You're going to be this. You're going to no. Do you have what it takes to push yourself to and beyond the limit? That's it. There's always somebody better than you. There's always somebody stronger than you. There's always somebody that luckier than you, maybe with better genetics. It's just one of those things that, mentally you have to be prepared for anything. But as long as we give our best and as long as we surround ourselves with positive people and people that, encourage us, and especially I don't like when people blow smoke in each other's asses. I hate that. You know what? You can't tell somebody you good, you're the best. You can't. Be honest. You don't have to be critical necessarily. Just encourage the person and be there for him. Don't blow smoke up his ass. There's no need for that. Just, if you're a true friend, if you're a true supporter, just be there for him. If he wins, if he loses, encourage him, support him, and that's it. But the mental aspect is always more than the physical, for sure.
Robert, what you just said, have you ever seen the quote from Teddy Roosevelt, "The man in the arena"?
Yep.
What you just said reminded me of that.
Yep.
It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out where the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena.
Absolutely.
It's a much longer quote from Teddy Roosevelt. If you guys haven't heard of it before, you should definitely go look that up. The Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt. Please look that up when you get a chance and read the full quote. It's powerful.
Yeah. Interesting. Dave, questions or?
No, nothing on that. No, I mean, I think that's a perfectly said thing, Robic. It's just, yeah, for my life, I can't control circumstances, but I can control my effort. I can control my attitude when I attempt things. And that's all I try to do. I just try to do my best. My best may not live up to the best that there is, but, at the end of the day, can I lay my head down knowing that I did what I needed to do? I gave my best effort for the day, and hopefully I can.
Well, it's like we all of us are in some way involved with the supplement industry, right? And we see, I'm a really big fan of Caged. I really like Caged. It's actually one of my favorite brands. I really like it. And I think the reason is, and Spencer brought up Ghost, and every time I say that I'm a huge fan of Ghost, everybody goes, well, really? Why? Because of the culture, because they're different, because they do things their way. That's a simple answer. I mean, I see brands copying each other left and right, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. We all see it. It's just, there is no personality. Like I said, a brand should have a personality. And if you have a personality, if you are unique and you stay in your own lane, that's all that matters. A lot of people do like and admire what we do, Palm Nutrition. But of course you'll get negativity. Of course you'll get, 600 milligram of caffeine. Fuck that. That's stupid. Very simple. Don't buy. Buy something else. But the brand should stick to their guns, and the brand should be doing the best that they can do for their own community. Jim Stepani has achieved tremendous success because he created a community. He created something, Jim Army. Whether you like him or you don't like him is irrelevant. You cannot disregard the achievements. And the achievements are very, very substantial. NutriBio, Caged, Ghost, all those companies, they built something very, very special, but they stay true to themselves. And I think that that's the best way of doing this. Raise the bar, but raise your own bar. Don't try to raise somebody else's bar.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed it in the past where I think the brands that do well are the ones where there's something to identify with. Like whether it's Ghost that has, the Ghost, whether it's Panda that has the Panda, or like people can get in touch with you, Robic, you and Carolina. You guys are the faces of the brand. That it's just not a brand out there with kind of, you don't really know what's going on behind the brand.
Well, that's the thing. If you take, for example, sponsored athletes, right? Some companies have sponsored athletes. We also have sponsored athletes, but I don't believe you can collaborate with your athlete. That's fine. But I don't think your athlete should be a representation of your company. He should be an extension. He should be representing, but he should not be a representation or a symbol of your company or anything like that. Why? Because athletes and companies part ways. That's just unfortunately the nature of business. If you build your brand around an athlete, I think that's the stupidest thing. We had Branch Warren, right? One of the most accomplished bodybuilders in history, a legendary bodybuilder. He was with Caged. He was with Muscle Tech. He was with Apollon. And ever since we are no longer with Branch, or Branch is no longer with us, nothing changed for Apollon. Why? Because Apollon is myself. Apollon is Carolina. Apollon is our formulations. Apollon is Apollon. That's it. There is, I said it a few times on few podcasts, but just in case, I'm going to repeat it. I'm a huge soccer fan, huge. And Barcelona is my favorite team. And it's one of the best teams in history. For anyone who watches soccer or knows soccer, everybody knows Ronaldinho, everybody knows Lionel Messi. He played for over a decade in Barcelona. And as big as Messi is, and regarded as the best soccer player in history of the game, he's no longer with Barcelona. He plays in Miami right now. But Barcelona remains still a top team. With ups and downs, obviously, right now I would say mostly downs, but it's still a top team. And they have a saying, kind of like a tagline, that translates to nobody is above the team. So no athlete, nobody should be above the brand. The brand should have its own identity, and that's it. Stick to what you do, raise your own bar, keep getting better and better and better for your audience, for your community, for your followers, for your customers, and that's it. You can have them all because it's a big industry. Somebody's going to be with Ghost, somebody's going to be with Caged, somebody's going to be with a Palm. But make sure if a person is purchasing a Palm Nutrition products, there is a reason for that. There is a reason for his loyalty. You can't betray him. You can't go like, oh, look, but Cage is doing that. Let's be like Cage now. That's stupid. Why would you try to beat Cage at the game? Why not be at your own game? And that is something that I witness in the industry. Sometimes you'll see something popping on Stacked. I'm like, this has been done by another brand. Why do these guys are doing it? It's just stupid. And in the industry of yes man, because unfortunately 90%, the industry, they will say something negative behind closed doors, but they're not going to say it out loud publicly. I mean, like some of us do. But the fact remains is that originality and sticking to your guns and being the best you can be, again, personal, professional, brand-wise, that's what's going to make you succeed or continue your success more than anything else.
Yep. So Spencer, we had a question for you. What other position in the company do you think you would love to have? I know it's kind of weird since you just joined the brand.
Yeah. I guess one day I would like to, have my boss's job when he moves up, and so I guess VP of sales one day. But we'll take it day by day. And Robert, you kind of asked earlier. This is, I guess, technically the fourth company in sports nutrition that I've been with now. And I promise I'm not just saying this. I'm a loyal person by nature, right? I grew up playing for the same football team my whole entire life. Went to college, played for the same college team all 4 or 5 years I was on the college team. I was in the Army, so I understand loyalty. If it was up to me with like no other outside factors involved, I would be with Applied Nutrition for the next 20 years and then retire with them wherever I end up. I'm so sick of jumping from company to company. Just through circumstances and through I guess climbing the ladder, it has kind of happened in my past. But again, if it was up to me with no outside circumstances involved, I'm staying here for the next 20 years and building Applied Nutrition here in the United States to the best of my ability. So I guess to answer that question is one day I would like to be the VP of sales of Applied Nutrition, maybe the chief revenue officer of Applied Nutrition 15 years from now, when I've earned it, when I've achieved that level of success. So I guess that would be my answer to the question.
Awesome. So for everybody, these are some weird ones that came in. For everyone, would you rather go back in time or to the future? And Dave, we'll ask you since you've been quiet here.
I'd probably go back in time and change some things in my life. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, and there are some things that I would definitely do differently, but I'd say probably go back and change a couple of not so smart choices I've made over the years.
Well, just I guess take it too as little value, whether it's your personal or you'd want to go back in time to say meet your great grandfather or something. But Spencer, which one would appeal to you?
I'd go back in time too, and maybe invest in like Google in the early 2000s or something like that. Yeah.
Robert?
I think we all have something in life that we regret. So I would like Dave said, I don't know if he meant mistakes or not, but some mistakes or people I hurt or some things that I've done, we all have some dark past, I guess. I would like to fix that and to make it right. That would be great. Unfortunately we can't. So I guess I'll move forward and try to learn from those mistakes as much as I can and try not to repeat them. But it would be nice to go back in time and say sorry to certain people and fix mistakes that maybe affected, certain things in the future, which is, currently, that would be best avoided. So I think that. But I think that's the answer for everybody. Everybody would like to do that. We want to go back in time and fix something that we regret. And that's the reason why I want to do now something that I don't regret later in life.
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't know how far back I'd go, but that would be one of the things is to go back and buy Amazon and Google and so many other stocks before they hit it big.
Yeah.
But Spencer, you've been in the industry, as you mentioned, five or so years. Okay, over the 5 years, and I know you're with COS, which was more on the plant-based, a little bit different than the hardcore supplements that a lot of us here are on. When you look at the industry in 5 years, do you think it's progressed a lot? Do you think it's kind of leveled? Or, if you had to put your thoughts on it, I mean, where are we from where you started to where we are now?
I think the industry's come a long way in terms of flavor and formats, and I think it'll keep going. And that way, flavor in the past 5 years is like improved across the board. And then just the different formats we're seeing products available in now. Functional foods is becoming much, much bigger. I think capabilities within functional foods are becoming bigger. I think eventually you're going to see people adding patented ingredients into functional foods. That's can be tough from a cost standpoint, from a consumer education standpoint. But I don't think we're that far off from seeing somebody putting, I don't know, cognizant in like a condiment or something and having it on your food. I think functional foods are going to take a big leap forward in the next 10 years.
Okay. Here's another weird one. What movie best depicts your life?
Me?
Yeah, we'll go around the room here. Yeah, some
I
weird ones
have
today.
I would say Forrest Gump, right? So played college football, was in the Army, runs a lot, tries to be nice to everybody. I think I'm Forrest Gump. Maybe a little bit smarter, but Forrest Gump.
Dave, what would you think?
Mine's going to be Rudy. Underdog my whole life. Have to work my ass off to get to where I am. People have helped me along the way, but for me, it's just been proving people wrong and always just showing them that just your average guy, just like I am, I can do it too.
Okay, Robert, you're smiling. I'm afraid to even hear.
Freddy Krueger.
Why? What's the relationship with that?
Because I'm a nightmare for certain people. And I think, being a nightmare in somebody's dream, I think is even worse than in real life. In real life, you can run. In the dream, you're fucked.
I thought for sure you were going to say Bloodsport or Karate Kid.
No, too painful. Freddy Krueger causes pain. Bloodsport is just too painful now.
I would have figured like a Rocky, like the underdog for where you grew up to where you are now in life. Like one of those kind of success stories, the champ or something.
You know what? I think that Rocky is a true success story, like all around American story. And there is only one Rocky. We all inspired by him, by his story. And I think that character is an inspiration and so iconic. But in all honesty, I think we build our own legacy, our own story. So at the end of the day, when it comes to like being, I don't know, 70 or 80 years old, when you're sitting somewhere in a retirement home or something, you would like to, I think I would like to reflect on my life and see that I am my own Rocky and, be inspired by him. Or Rudy, for example, obviously Forrest Gump. Those are all, heroes. And, they all, I know they're movie characters, but yes, sort of. They're all movie characters, but look, Rudy's been, how old is that movie? 30 years old. Forrest Gump is at least 30, I think. And
yeah.
Rocky is same age as me, so it's almost 5 decades now. I mean, and look, we didn't bring one movie that was released last year.
Yeah.
We're talking about iconic movies from back in the day. So that just goes to show that those movies don't age. Those characters don't age. And the fact that I was talking about Rocky with somebody recently, Rocky is probably among the few characters that even in today's day and age, kids still love them. That's a movie that you can watch with your son, with your daughter. It will always, no matter how many times you watch it, that just character is a true inspiration. And I don't even think it's viewed as a boxing film.
So you don't think Barbie's a good movie to talk about for generations?
You know what? I still don't like that movie. I tried. The first time I watched it was in theater, and I walked out midway through. And then Jess was talking about it so much, she was up in my ear, and I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a fair chance. And I watched it, and I just don't get it. I still don't get it. I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan to start with. Anything that he does, I'm just not a fan of his comedy. And but besides that, I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it's gonna sound old, but when we're talking about iconic movies, can you really honestly compare it to Rocky? Can you honestly compare it to The Godfather, Forrest Gump? Those truly iconic films. I just don't see it. I mean, the costumes were great. Did it deserve to get nominated for best actors and actresses and stuff like that? I just don't see it. I still don't see it. I think it has its own audience. I mean, apparently it's a pretty large audience. It's not my cup of tea.
I figured you'd be that.
Sean,
Spencer,
Sean, what's your movie?
oh God, I would. I
Dumb
thought
and
about this too.
Dumber,
'Cause obviously, what?
Dumb and Dumber, or Grumpy Old Man.
I was actually trying to think about this because obviously I was sitting on the question here. I don't even know. I mean, I am more of a comedy type guy. I mean, I'm the comic relief. So maybe there is a little bit of Dumb and Dumber, a little bit of Ferris Bueller. Kind of that craziness a little bit. Another classic movie.
Love that movie.
Spencer, this just came in. Please ask Spencer why he went with Applied. There is plenty of brands out there, and why he chose a brand that has European roots.
It really came down to just my loyalty to Aaron and Darren and our team. When Aaron kind of put the idea to keep us all together and move us together, it was a no-brainer. Again, back to the different brands, different companies. My loyalties lie with people, and I put my values in relationships. Brands and companies are great, but I'm not loyal to a brand. I don't value a company. I value people, and I'm loyal to the relationships that I've established with people, and just the opportunity to continue working for Aaron and with Darren and Nick. It was a no-brainer. We all get along great. We know how each other operates, and it was really a no-brainer just to stick with them and keep that comfortability going. It's kind of similar. Anybody out there who follows college football in the off season, whenever Alabama hires the new up and coming young head coach, and then that head coach tries to bring as much of his staff from the previous place with him as possible, just because they already all know each other. Very similar concept.
Very true. So, guys, as we wind down here, any other questions for each other? It's been a great conversation.
Yeah,
Robert,
Dave, I did have a question for you. I wanted to ask, just like, what's your background? How did you get involved in the industry and reviewing supplements? Was there any catalyst that got you started in that, or?
No, you know what? It's funny. It's just like I've kind of told this before.
He was just looking for a way to put what's cooking somewhere.
That's right. Yeah,
it fits. Yeah. It fits. It's a good name. It's clever.
Yeah, that took my wife actually a little while to understand why I was doing that, and she's like, "Why are you saying that?" I'm like, all right, never mind. But no, really, there's nothing, there's no particular, nothing that really vaulted me into this. I've always just been a supplement fan, and it's just I like the industry. I like building this. I like just the mindset of using things to help me be the best me I can be, and it doesn't have to be necessarily sports nutrition stuff. If I'm taking, fish oils, the right kinds of things, a good multivitamin to keep me healthy. I want to be here and I want to be around for a long time. And, it's just that active lifestyle. And this kind of still just, I'm not an athlete anymore, but it still fuels me to go out there every day, I just train in my basement gym, but, it still fuels me to do that, to give my best effort. And then, at the end of the day, I feel like, I'm still doing what, kind of satisfies me, but making me a better person. So really nothing too, great, and I don't even know if I could really even consider myself in the supplement industry. I thank you guys for this opportunity. Sometimes I think, why the heck are you even having me on this show? But, I'm just grateful for these relationships, and meeting guys like you. I think it's awesome.
If you notice, a lot of his reviews are pre-workouts with caffeine. I think it's just the caffeine to keep him going for the three boys.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
So, but Robert, let's wind down here. People keep asking about Desperado. Do you want to share any more light on Desperado, the upcoming pre you're coming out with?
Yes, the name is pretty much was easy to figure. It's surprising that people are asking a question about this product in particular, even though I said it's nothing like hooligan or assassin, because that's what we are so known for. But I think not to go into the formula or anything like that, but when I saw that in the last year or so, people were coming out with daily pre, daily pre, daily pre. And actually, I'm going to give credit to Caged. What they did was very, very cool, because if we are talking about dailies, they always had a good pre-workout. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything outstanding. It wasn't anything, groundbreaking. It was just a good, solid pre. And then, a year ago, 2 years ago, they released something that was a little bit of a higher level, more premium. So Cage did something opposite, and I love that. Instead of going, with daily pre's, they already had a daily pre, which I still hate the name daily pre. It's such a stupid term. But they went from having a good pre, decent pre, they went to premium. Everybody else had premium, and I guess, I was resisting it. But everybody had a premium, and then they're like, oh, we have a daily driver. And all the review channels and everybody, they going like, oh, look, this company that supposedly has good products is releasing a daily driver. And you look at the formula, and it's a shit formula. 9 out of 10, it's a complete dog shit. You could go, well, it's not a daily pre-workout, it's a shitty pre-workout, because it's all that, oh, we're selling it instead of premium $55 or $65, we're selling it for $35, but it's a daily driver. So what you're saying is that you took a lot of cheap ingredients, or under those ingredients made a cheap product, and you want to push it to people that cannot afford $50 or $60 for a truly premium, fully loaded pre-workout, and you're shoving it in that area, buy from us. Now we have something that is daily. Well, it's not daily, it's shit. So when I started to realize that 9 out of 10, these pre-workouts are just pure garbage, I said, like, why don't we formulate something? It's not going to be Assassin or Time Cop or Hooligan level, but can we formulate something that is a great pre-workout, not a hard-hitting pre-workout, just good, that can be taken anytime, without any breaks, and make it more cost-effective. I decided that instead of going for daily driver, I'm going to call it cost-effective, but can it be good? Now, keep in mind that Apollo Nutrition is not applied science. I mean, we're not a big company. We don't buy 50,000 units per flavor or anything like that. So our buying power is not as substantial. But then in the last year or so, a couple of ingredient companies, I'm not going to say who exactly, reached out to us that they want Apollo, because we're known for our formulations. They want us to use the ingredients, so people could see that, Apollo is pretty much like a seal of approval. They know that we're not going to put any shit products, ingredients, or under those. They came and they offered, to use the ingredients at a little bit more of a favorable price. So that's when I started putting together something. I was like, well, what if we go this route? We create a pre-workout that is going to be very good, like really, really good, premium, top premium, not as hard-hitting, but can we make our cost a little bit less, and can we pass on that saving to the consumer, making it a product that is going to be cost-effective, but yet it's going to have that, what Shane said, a pollen signature. Can we do that? And we went with a few ingredients, we discussed it, and figured out that there is a possibility. That's the reason why when it's going to come out, everyone is going to go like, well, this is not a very typical daily driver where you have, instead of 8 or 6 or 10 grams of citrulline, you have 3 or 4, or no citrulline at all. Or you're not going to have, a good pump ingredient, or you do, but it's so underdosed. Like I noticed, everybody knows that the preferred, and I'm not saying this ingredient is in a pre-workout. Actually, it's not. Let's take Vasodrive, for example, right? So everybody knows that efficacious dose is actually 508. It's 508 milligram. And I started seeing those daily pre-workouts having 254. So you're taking a efficacious dose, you cut it in half. Will it do something? Yeah, it will. But you're saying, well, I'm going to give it to you cheap. Well, give me cheap 508. Good. Don't give me cheap 254. Try to work on a formula and really see if you can put something together where you're still profitable, but at the same time, you're not taking it out on me by giving me a lesser product. And that's exactly what was the thought behind Desperado, that we're going to do a product that is going to be a full premium product that, it's not going to pretty much not going to differ from anything that we have already. But we will be able to charge less and make it a cost-effective pre-workout. In terms of when it's coming out, we're targeting probably sometimes between mid to end of May, somewhere around Memorial Day weekend, maybe a week before, a week after, but somewhere in that area.
That's a smart strategy from my perspective, my 2 cents too. It's a smart strategy to have different formulas for different price points of your consumer.
Absolutely.
Somebody who has the budget for your ultra premium pre-workout can afford 60, 65, whatever dollars a month for a pre-workout. Somebody who doesn't have the budget, or maybe they just got laid off from their job, they do need a more cost-effective pre-workout. So having different price points, very smart strategy.
I think that should be the way to advertise and promote. Thank you, because I'm going to steal this idea now from you.
Go ahead. Yeah. Happy to help.
When we had Hooligan and Assassin, there was a comment made, like typically when they became like very iconic pre-workouts now, but back in the day, they were heavily criticized. And typically I ignore criticism, especially if it's, not when it's biased and it just has a motive behind it, or just pure hate or jealousy, I'll ignore it. But if somebody said something that I paid attention to, the guy said, well, I can't take your pre-workout. It's a great formula, but it's just way too strong for me, and I don't want to be taking half a scoop. I was like, you know what? He makes a very valid point. Can 500, 600, 700 milligram of caffeine be taken? Of course, yes. Nobody says it can't, especially in today's day and age when you have energy drinks of 200, 300 milligram of caffeine. And I see it in the gym, people popping 2 or 3 drinks at a time. Or even they will take C4, for example, with 200 milligram of caffeine and take 3 scoops. So I cannot control what you do in terms of how much stims your body needs, or how much, you can tolerate, or how much you want. It's your choice. We can put all disclaimers and all warnings on the label. At the end of the day, if you're dumb enough to use 1,000 or 50 to 100 milligram of caffeine, that's on you. We can't control it. It's in your hands. But I thought the guy made a very valid point where he said, well, I don't want to be taking that much caffeine. I don't have the tolerance for it. Like, for example, I know Sean, that's not his thing to take 500, 600, 700 milligram of caffeine. And I don't blame him. We have great conversations about it. That's his choice. And that's when, what you, Spencer, said, the idea came, well, why don't we create different pre-workouts? And there are so many you can do. When you go to a restaurant, typically you're going to have on a menu a steak, a chicken, something vegetarian for everybody. There are certain people that just don't want certain products. I know that when it comes to our product, Sean and myself, we prefer Lionheart, which is very light on caffeine. That's our preference. But as a brand owner, I'm still offering the high stim products. There are still, there are companies that make high stim products, and you look at it and okay, this is just a bunch of stems thrown together. There's nothing else in it. But if you take our pre-workouts, it's not just the stems. We have hard-hitting pre-workouts, but on the ingredient panel, it's a lot more than that. But offering people choices is great. I don't like when somebody will say to me, oh, you know what flavor you need? That I do not like. The reason is that you can come to me and say, I tried something, it's an interesting flavor. What do you think about it? But when you say you need, I don't know, apple something, well, why? Well, I really like it. It's not a fucking steak in a restaurant. You don't order it medium rare or well done to your liking. This is not how it's done. We cannot make a flavor just because of you. Yeah. There's hundreds, thousands of flavor choices. We do the one that we think, we test them with our audience, with our gym members and stuff. But there's only so much you can do. But you cannot, or for example, somebody's going to like a flavor in one product, and they're going to say, well, can you make that flavor in that product? No, we can't, because of the ingredient panel is going to taste completely different. So we cannot duplicate it either. But that I do not like. But having choices in terms of non-stem, high stem, medium stem, those choices should be available. They can be available, and they all can be great. It's just because your pre-workout costs $40 not 60, does not mean automatically that it should be a shitty pre-workout. It still can be good.
And giving your customers options like that too, high stim, non-stim, medium stim, low stim, you're keeping them your customers, right? Where if you only had a high stim option and you didn't have a low stim option, well, now somebody who likes Pauline's protein might say, well, I can't buy their pre-workout because they only have the high stim and they don't have a low stim. So I'm gonna have to go somewhere else and buy their pre-workout instead. So now you're giving your customers more options to keep them as Pauline's customers. Again, it's a smart play.
Every company should have an identity. Every company should have a plan. Every company should be doing things their way without trying to copy anyone, because if you have a customer base, there is a reason for it. And you can gain more customers by sticking to your guns and being the best brand you can be. That's the best way of saying it. You know, I'm pretty sure working for Cage and now Applied, they're completely different companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're both successful, but they're completely different. And as long as they stay true to themselves, I think that's how they're going to grow. There is a reason why they achieve certain level of popularity or certain level of success. And I think that there is no need to reinvent the wheels. If something works, just stick to it. You can always make it better.
Yeah, agreed.
Exactly. Well, guys, it's truly been a pleasure. I know, Spencer, you're on to your next project here. But for people that are watching, where can they follow you, plug the brand, everything else here?
Yeah, to follow me individually, just at slynn46 on Instagram. I'm also pretty big on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Spencer Lynn, on LinkedIn. And then Applied Nutrition as well. We also have the ABE, the All Black Everything line. You can check that out too.
Perfect. And everybody that's watching, thank you so much, Robik. I know it's midnight there. For me, I would have been in bed 3 hours ago, but I know you still probably have 2 more hours before you go to bed. But good seeing everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
All right, thanks, everybody.